Monday, June 9th. Good morning. Starting off the new week. All right. So we start out with stock market indexes, go to futures, and I've got a few stocks that I follow. And then sometimes I get into cyclicality, rhythms in markets, trading psychology, a variety of other topics. Not always, but occasionally. Okay. We are a little higher on the day, and I stress a little. It's only a point, a small fraction on the spider, or 10, 13 on the E-mini, 17 ticks on the YM, 1.8 on the QQQ. You get the message. Barely higher. Easy to turn down. What we have is no new high so far on the E-mini. And it did make a new high with a fairly strong close on Friday. Well, I should not say fairly. A very good strong close. Up, I think it was 6 points. But the important thing is it's a new high close for the trend up. Now, I have been talking about this market topping out. I still think that that is the right direction, the right tack to take, that I'm looking for sell signals, the definitive evidence that it's starting to turn down. I haven't got it. I see the expectations. I see the warning signs. I see the variety of things that often occur before it starts to head south. But it hasn't started to head south yet. So I'm still waiting, and it's frustrating. It's a matter of testing your patience. But I've learned over a long time period to patience is a virtue in this business, as long as you're not losing money. And that's definitely not what you want. Waiting for a new signal, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a trade, waiting for whatever you need to wait for. And I'd love to see a bearish engulfing. Some of these indexes have been oversold within the allotted number of past days, not the E-mini. So I don't have overbought conditions. I am in overbought conditions. All I've got is a divergence, higher high in price, but not in the index. We're close to overbought, but not quite. And so far, we've basically got a doji, an inside trading range day, where right now we're just barely pushing above yesterday's high, just in the last couple of minutes. Last minute, in fact. So let's take a look at the 1 minute chart. We've got a very slightly higher, oops, so it looks like we're tying it, getting right up to the exact same price, give or take a tick or two. Yep, right there. So I haven't got what I need. I haven't got what I'm looking for. I haven't got it. I have to continue to procrastinate and wait. The S&P 500, SPY, essentially the same story. Not overbought. New high in price, but not in the indicator. In a historical, significant area of resistance, the trading range tops that we saw back in December, January, February, I think is going to stop this market. I could allow, so to speak, a little bit higher levels in order to get reversals, in order to get somewhat minor higher highs and then break down. I haven't got it. I've got to wait. SPY, 1 minute chart, looks like it could make some new highs here. Minor, I can't tell. Now, the QQQ did have a major bearish engulfing last Thursday, which has not been violated yet. It's coming close. I also have to mention that that high on Thursday of last week was up against a resistance area. There's a variety of things that still tell me that that could have been a very important bearish day. But you can't prove it by yesterday, Friday, popping back up. But the key here is touching any higher prices than the high of the bearish engulfing red ER sell signal on Thursday, which has not happened yet, but it looks like it could, and that would negate, cancel out the signal. And you're back to the drawing board. We're against major resistance, major previous tops. what can I say? All these things apply. Haven't got much new for you this morning, and I'm sorry about that. But you can never make the market do what you want it to do. You always have to move with it. You are right some of the time, and the market's right all of the time. Coming up fairly strong. Now, NASDAQ futures did have a bearish engulfing on Thursday, does have a legitimate sell signal. It is not working yet. I only claim they're starting to work if they don't get violated and they start closing below the low of the signal day, which is below Thursday's low. And in this particular case, that would be also below Friday's low problem. But we haven't got it. We're pushing the highs, making minor new highs from Friday, but not from the important Thursday. Next, coming close to the high for today on the NASDAQ. Next, we've got the YM, which has a very, very nice possible double top. The high Friday was almost exactly the same, super close to the high on May 20th. So, if that still pans out, which obviously doesn't look like it at the moment because we're up a little on the day, not a lot. We're not above Friday's high. It's a doji. It's in a resistance area, and you still have the possible double top, which I still like. So I'm still claiming it's supposed to start working lower, and my fail-safe is anything that touches above Thursday's high and or Friday's high, in this case it would be Friday, is going to start to change my mind a little bit. It depends on how that situation is handled. If it pops up to new high ground and then all of a sudden pulls right back down a lot, then you've got yourself still a bearish situation. Next. Not quite there yet. Next. The Russell did, and it's the only one, clearly make higher highs. But oh my goodness, it's now overbought for the first time in a matter of almost a full month. And in new high ground, but it is now above resistance. And, you know, the Russell is kind of its own world. It doesn't go up and down quite the same as the other indexes. So I'm skeptical about this. Now, I see it. Maybe a lot of you also see it. You might try to call this a shoulder on March 13th, a shoulder low. And the head of the formation does have a bullish engulfing ER buy signal at the very bottom. I'm quite happy about that. I didn't expect that bullish green ER buy signal to be this profound, produce this big of a move, but it did. And I keep telling you I can't really tell how far and how long the moves are going to be once I get these signals. Sometimes they're a few days in a short term. Sometimes they fail completely and you lose a little money. Sometimes they work as well as this one has if you're a long-term trader. And my systems don't necessarily lend themselves to long-term signals. I did not invent them for that purpose. Just a market turn of some significance. We're pulling back down a little bit at the moment. Okay, 1 minute chart on the Russell. Didn't make a new high, pulling back slightly. Now let's go to bonds. Up on the day. A little support held. I really want to see it start closing above last week's high of 114.10. Thereabouts, give or take a tick or two. Then I'll be talking about the double bottom formation with the low bullish engulfing ER buy signal January 14th. And the low, which is a little bit lower, not too badly, on May 22nd. I do consider that a probable double bottom. But you have to get all the way up to 121.25 in order to break out of the double bottom formation. And then the upside objective is a heck of a lot higher. Way up. So there's a lot to happen before a possible breakout. And that obviously means we're supposed to be rallying up to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, all the way to 22 almost. Yeah, just shy of it. So that's quite a bit, 10 full points, give or take a bit. A lot to ask for. And there's no sign that that's happening except for the possible broad double bottom that could be a good formation. It's going to take months if it works. So I'm friendly on interest rate futures. 10-year notes didn't make a lower low. Bonds did slightly. Notes did not. Doji, a little higher today. Doing okay. Again, not super optimistic yet. We're kind of like fiddling around in here, waiting for something significant to develop. What about energy? It's crude. Gapped up above the resistance area completely. The low is right smack on the top of the resistance area, which is now support. But there's a gap to close between the high of Friday and the low of today. Market could come down, close that gap, and pop right back up above the resistance, which would be bullish action. We may not close the gap today. We may close it sometime in the near future. That would be a few days, maybe a couple of weeks from now. In the meantime, we could see a little bit higher levels. Look, this is a new high and a highly likely new high close, if we stay here, of course, since early April. That's 2 full months. Pretty good. So the gap that's up here at about 69.5 now doesn't look so silly anymore. I think we're heading to 69.5 to close that gap, whether we come down and close the small up gap this morning or not. Next, a very opposite situation in natural gas. Now, I'm still looking at this as a double shoulder, head and shoulder top. I've got a couple of necklines drawn in, but I do favor the one that's drawn off of the original pivot point on January 31st and the other pivot point for both lines at April 24th. That is relatively flat with a slight down slope to it, and that means we're going to make new lows for several weeks and then break the neckline and then come down to this support level probably for the beginning of our first bounce. Outside down day today implies that we're starting to work lower. And I might note that today's high is not higher than Thursday's high, and Thursday was an outside down day. Yesterday, Friday was just simply an inside doji. Doesn't mean much. But here's another one, outside down day, as long as we stay lower. So this could be it. Watch very carefully natural gas for this head and shoulder because it's very bearish. It says we're supposed to go down to about 1.4. Yep. Okay. Now this also is a little bit of a breakaway gap to the upside. I don't like calling it a breakaway gap. I'm going to call it a common gap. We'll come back to support. Same thing, we'll close the gap. Maybe this week. No breakouts of any major consequence. We're not overbought. Yep, I think this gap is going to be closed very soon. Then what? That's about the best I can say. I favor the upside slightly. We do have a bullish engulfing ER buy signal, and that was on April 9th, right smack at the bottom of the move. And then we have another one that worked really, really well. And a third one that did okay for, 1-2 days. Not great. But these other two were very good. So I'm friendly. And I think the gap's going to get closed and go right back up and start to make new highs for a couple of months. And gold, silver, platinum, copper, then the grains. So today's low was right smack dab on my previous bear trend line. Perfect. That's what should happen if the lines are any good. You get down or up and touch or come very close to the line and turn around. That's exactly what this has done. Today's low is right on the line, and we are high and last right now, trying to go back up and close an opening down gap this morning. Remember, the body shows you the current tick is of my little sky blue marker right there. And of course, you can tell from the price ticker on the far right, correlates with the current little blue. So it opened here, probably touched the line, turned around and made new highs. Great, perfect, as far as the line touching is concerned. A little bit more closes the gap. Basically, I'm friendly because this downward sliding channel is a bullish pattern. The trend is obviously up mostly. From December, we have higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and just recently a little trouble making new highs on the rallies. But I think within probably this month, we're going to see it get above 34.31 and above 34.76 and maybe a new high for the whole trend. Silver, very strong. Third day in a row. Overbought and pretty substantially, 84. Now watch out, ladies and gentlemen. When's the last time we were at 84, 85 RSI? Way back here. And it was actually a hair lower than that. And what happened to the price? Overbought conditions, and it topped out. Boy, does this look the last 3 days like these 3 days just before it topped out back in October? I think so. Are we trading around the same price levels as we were back then in October? Yes. But we are in new high ground, and it's the second day. But that's not good enough for me. I still think we're going to at least come back down sharply. And I'm not sure why we have that there. I guess it was an old gap or something. Cancel that out. So I'm looking for a downside swing here. But intermediate to longer term, I don't see anything causing me to turn bearish. Just a little reactionary because of the overbought condition. Bull markets get overbought now and then, have retracements, percentage retracements, Fibonacci retracements, gap closure retracements, testing support, trend lines, all kinds of stuff, retracements, and turn around and go back up and make new highs. That's the way they act. What about platinum? Boy, oh boy, it's the same thing as silver, except a little more dramatic. We are at 88.83. Last time that happened was, again, way back in May when we got a bearish engulfing ER sell signal, Yahoo, at the top of the market, and it went down for months. Oh, there's another great one. Sell signal on the top at resistance. That one didn't work out quite so well. And one real nice buy signal. Okay, so watch out. It's about ready to turn down. Might go up a little bit more in the meantime. It's very difficult, at least for me, to tell you how much higher it's going to go. But I can tell you that this is not going to take very long. Maybe it's today. Maybe 1 or 2 more days. I don't know how much higher. Could be a chunk. Next, we got overbought Thursday of last week, and the dip already started. We dropped off to another new low. Friday was a lower low than Thursday last week. Right now, we're just around unchanged, up a little bit, hardly. Resistance area stopping it throughout this last rally up. I think we're starting to work our way lower, to be honest with you, in copper. Grain, beans, not interested. We're between a rock and a hard spot. If I get a close above 1081, I will turn bullish and give you all kinds of reasons why. But if I get a close below 1032, I'll turn modestly bearish, expecting all of these previous bottoms to be tested, support areas to be tested. That's about it. Soybean oil got oversold last week, started to rally up into resistance. I don't think it's going to go very far. It may be that today is the high day. Can't tell yet. Looking for it to turn back down, to be honest with you. The grain markets just don't seem to have any zip, pop, bang. Corn, meal, sideways, boring. Corn, slowly drifting lower. We start to make new lows. There could be a fairly sharp break for a day. And that would test, I don't know, getting down to as low as maybe even 4.15. Yeah, dropping another 20 cents in 1 or 2 days. Would not surprise me if we started to make new lows again. Otherwise, oversold last week. It ain't doing it. I'm sorry. Just doesn't have it. Next, We do have an outside up day, outside down day in wheat, bearish engulfing at the moment at a resistance area, price resistance, previous highs, bearish, looking for lower levels. What can I tell you? What about cattle? Overbought, looks a little bit of it like platinum and gold, huh? Yeah. So gap to close a couple days ago, come down and close the gap, 212.45. Then probably back up again in general. Hogs, overbought, similar story, no gap to close, come back down to support, and then maybe it'll work back up a little bit. 4 different stocks. Shell. Shell is an outside up day at the moment, fairly strong. New highs, looks like a new high close. Not overbought yet. I told you many days ago that it was going to try to come up and close this kind of like a double gap situation. So we're almost at my first expectation, 68.70. Then I'm looking for 69.34 and ultimately 69.60, not very far away. So the move is done what I expected. Now, we're not forgetting about a little bit of a gap down here. So once we're through messing around up here, closing the gap on the rally, I could easily justify it coming back down after that to 66.53 to close this gap. Well, we'll see what it can do on as it gets up there and closes those gaps. I expect, no guarantee. What do we got for Apple? Minor new high, not higher than last week, but very close. Still underneath that bear trend line. Can't seem to get across that. If we close above that, then we've got the likelihood of rallying even more, back up to some resistance areas. And this would be an old gap closer, finished doing the job. It didn't quite finish it. It only closed about half of it and then turned back. So we're kind of getting caught here between resistance above and support below. What about Tesla? Well, now we have a cat fight. You know who. So, when Musk was pushed out, so to speak, and started quabbling, and there was rumors of, and again, pardon me, getting off into too much fundamentals. I told you the damn gap was going to get closed, and it did get closed. And not only that, but in the same day, because of the developments, it went down and closed another gap. And that one's closed. End of story for both of those gaps. Popped back up a bit on Friday, and today, a lot of nothing. Dipped a little, came back to be approximately unchanged, up a good $1 or $2, which is nothing on a $300 stock. So, oversold conditions, closure of gaps, probably going to bounce up somewhat. After all, now we have a small gap to close at higher levels. And we're looking at Carvana. There was a gap this morning on the opening lower than the low of Friday. But now that gap is closed already, yet today. It closed it in the same day. And we're overbought. So Carvana actually looks like it's top heavy. And I'm looking for a move down to probably 312. I don't know what that's doing there. That seems to be somewhat unimportant. And I wouldn't rule out a move down to 293-ish. So I'm looking for a bit of a dip, mostly because of the overbought conditions. On Friday, we had a higher high for the whole trend and a lower close, almost a bearish engulfing ER red sell signal if it had gotten below during Friday, last Thursday's lows, but it didn't do it. And we're back to E-mini, up 1.6, made new highs while I was yakking away, pulled back a little bit, tried to make another new high, didn't do it, pulling back a little bit. No changes. Kind of a boring day today so far in general, except for precious metals. You guys have a great day and profitable trading to you.